welcome to another episode of College Cash Corner podcast. We are your host, Natalia.
And Tara.
Today we have a special guest who brings a unique blend of leadership and financial experience. Joining us, a distinguished member of the Latino community and former president of the M.E.Ch.A Club, and a passionate advocate of financial literacy. We're so happy to have you here, Kari.
Hi.
Would you like to introduce your guest?
Yeah, I have Jay here. He is a graphic design major here at MCC, and also my boyfriend. So,
hi.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for being here. We are so excited for this conversation. So, can you start first telling us about yourself, your story, how you end up in MCC?
Absolutely. So I'm a McClintock High School graduate, and I did some dual enrollment courses there. MCC is the closest one of the Maricopa community colleges to me, so I ended up coming here. I'm a dual consortium student, which means I go to Rio Salado and MCC. So I ended up taking some classes here, involving myself here in the student life and leadership, which, manifested as M.E.Ch.A. So I was the M.E.Ch.A club president from 2023 to 2024, and then I was the social media manager from 2022 to 2023. So I got really invested in student life and stuff as a way to keep my retention up there, because I was fearing that I might drop out at some point, since, college is not an easy experience for me. I'm a first generational student. My mother was born in Mexico and my father was born in Guatemala. They both have a middle school education or less. They haven't graduated from any institution, so it was really hard facing that level of adversity here. So basically, I came to MCC in hopes of networking and finding people who look like me and who sound like me, and have a common experience that we could at least relate to. And I ended up finding friends and community and happiness and stuff and resources. And that's also where I met Jay.
Thank you for sharing that.
So I came here because I was having some health issues, and my original plan was to move out and go to either a different community college or a university. But that didn't really work out, and so I ended up here, and I've been taking graphic design courses.
Well, could you talk more in deep how joining the M.E.Ch.A Club helped you to stay in school? Say that you were really afraid of dropping off and not really knowing if you were gonna stay in school. How did joining a club help you with that?
Absolutely. So I'm a big advocate of joining clubs in student life here at your college campus, wherever you are. When you join a club, it increases your retention rates in school and helps you decrease your dropout rate there. You find a community of people just like I did. Clubs can be anything from your nationality, like M.E.Ch.A, who is like a Latinx club, or places like, gaming club or STEM club. It just depends on what your field of interest is and what you would like to meet new people about and venture out. I think for me, as somebody who's extroverted, it did help me venture out and meet new people, but obviously that wasn't a problem for me in the first place. But for somebody who's more extroverted, it probably would have really helped them find that community there. It's really hard. At college, you can definitely get lost in the crowd there. Even though there's so many people on college campuses, it can sometimes feel isolating because of how many people you don't know and how much of a new experience it is. And I believe that I shouldn't just jump into the pool head first, and I just wanted to be able to slowly transition there. And I mean, at first with M.E.Ch.A, even though I was a social media manager, I would go to I think 35% of the events. And then as the time went on in the year, I was like, these people, I feel comfortable around them. These people feel like family. And I felt like going more and more to the events. And at some point, I just grew to be a more solid member. And I think that really helped my retention rates, because, I mean, I was just an online student. I've never taken an in-person college class. I was in my junior year when COVID-19 happened. So since that day in junior year when they told us we were going to go on a 2-week break, I haven't stepped foot inside of an academic institution or a classroom again. So I've basically only have a couple classes. I only have my Spanish classes left in my degree right now, so I've never stepped foot in a college class. I've only taken dual enrollment courses in my high school, which are taught by high school teachers, and then I transferred here to Rio Salado and MCC. So in reality, going into a college class is something that's daunting. As somebody who's first generation, I feel something called imposter syndrome, where I feel like I don't belong, and places like M.E.Ch.A helped me create a space for myself that I felt like I did belong in, and now I feel comfortable walking around MCC. I can walk around MCC with my shoulders back and my chin up, thinking I'm a valuable member of this community. So it definitely helped me stay here.
Jay, what was your experience joining the club?
It was really nice to have the opportunity to meet so many people. Because like Kari, I used to be a member. I used to go to GISA a lot. That's actually where we met. And then I transferred, and then I kind of switched clubs and started going to M.E.Ch.A a lot more often. And it was just a really great experience to be able to like connect with people that I wouldn't have otherwise met because our majors are so different. And it was really nice being able to just like look around campus and notice people that I recognized and have had conversations with. Because a lot of times in college you struggle to make friends even when you have in-person classes, just because everyone's there to just sit through the class and then go home usually. So it was really nice to have like dedicated time just to like talk to other people and meet other people and go to different events and stuff. So I had a lot of fun being able to help out in.
If there are listeners thinking, well, I want to be part of a club or to find my community on campus, what suggestions would you make?
I would definitely say use your iPhone or smartphone. That's like the most powerful tool you have in your possession. It's literally a computer in your hand, and almost everybody has one. Or your laptop. You can go on to MCC and look up student life and leadership, and you can find out all information about the clubs, the meeting times, what different clubs have to offer at different campuses. Then you can choose what community you'd like to get involved with, go to their meeting times, and see,
Yeah, my experience was very similar. I just try everything and it was really fun just to experience and meet people from different perspectives, different backgrounds. I end up like just staying or going more frequently to the ones that like really appealing to me. I think that's very valuable. That is, it's not like a really big commitment to go there, but your vision and your voice is always valuable for the people that are there.
The club fairs are also a really good way to see a bunch of clubs because I walked through the couple of times that we had them here and I learned about so many different clubs and got to talk to members face to face and find out like what they really do and what things they like and what they're planning on doing in the future. So it was a really good opportunity.
The club fair is Club Rush, and it usually takes place like 2 weeks after a semester starts.
Yeah, Club Rush is where I originally saw Yasmin, the president from before, tabling, and she was just like, I was like, wow, like if we're being honest here, I saw somebody that looked like me. I saw somebody who had brown skin and dark hair and who wasn't afraid to be unapologetically themselves. And, she told me this is what M.E.Ch.A is. We hang out. It's a community. It's like a social thing too. You can bring different things to the table, and we always open to new members and new ideas, which I found very inviting.
I think finding your community, just like relating these with financial literacy, is very important because that's how like most of the times you find friends. And we oftentimes talk about how making friends or talking with your family or people that is close to you about your finance help you so much to achieve your goals. So did you experience this with any of the members? Did you talk about it with any family member about how what were your expectations or your financial goals in the time that you were here in MCC?
Yeah, one of my club members there, that's a close friend of mine, Aiden, we had a conversation that was very just upfront and real about like where our finances at and what our plans for the summer were as we're transitioning from the end of the year to the summer. Because some people, we want to go to the movies, we want to go to concerts, and some people are like, yeah, I'm saving up for this financial goal of moving out. My parents' house, I can't really go out to these social things, that we can instead do like more low cost activities. And I think it was nice to have an open and fresh dialogue. I think like in the community, it's really frowned upon to talk about money, in the Latinx community. And I know my parents are definitely like those people who just don't talk about money. It's just something that's very awkward and you shouldn't bring it up as a social topic, which I completely disagree with. And I would like to destigmatize that there, because I think that talking about finances openly is a part of succeeding. Because if you have goals, you should let people know these goals, and they can possibly help you achieve them down the line. Yep. I think I found nothing but helpfulness when I've talked to my family about, hey, I have this financial goal I'm trying to reach, or I'm trying to save up for this, or emergency fund or savings fund, or this is for my tuition. And I think it's important to allocate your money in that way and have a set plan for yourself to try to keep yourself accountable with some discipline and stick to it.
What was the experience of telling your parents that you wanted to go to college?
I think my parents always expected me to be college bound just because they came from different countries and expected greatness. Lots of my siblings tried to go to college, but most of them didn't graduate, Apparently, like, it's very hard, apparently, to, like, just go to college and keep doing it every single year and have the money for it, because usually people in the Latinx community have to drop out instead to work and help their parents pay the bills, instead of being able to go to college, because going to college is a privilege. And I know that because of my parents, because of how much they were like, yeah, focus on your academics, focus on your studies, do your homework. And I am very academically inclined. I do know that. And because of that, it's helped me stay motivated towards my goals. Since my parents didn't graduate high school, that was like my number one goal for years, for my entire childhood. I'm going to walk across that graduation stage for my parents, for the sweat on their backs when they cross like the borders. That's why I'm doing this. So it's really refreshing to see that, like, every time I reach an accomplishment, like graduated from high school, I'm super close to finishing my AA, they were like super happy about it and stuff. And all my family's super supportive because obviously my siblings who weren't able to graduate see how much hard work it is, and they know firsthand how difficult it is to be first gen, and to live this experience day by day, and they applaud me for it, which is nice. But it just still makes me sad that they weren't able to graduate and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Something that really stayed with me the first time that we met, it was through a workshop that you were, or a panel where you were talking about your experience as first gen and how the pressure of having excellent grades is very tough. And even when your parents are not asking for it, like your parents are not asking you for the greatest straight A's or anything, you just have that pressure on you. And I feel so related with that as international student, just because I felt that my parents are all the times like making so much effort to keeping me here and to give me the best education ever. And like it's that pressure that keeps you like, yeah, I need to have also financial goals, my school, friends, and it's all of these things that I have over me.
It's like a lot of roles to juggle. I heard it like described as the unspoken pressure of being first gen. And honestly, it's really accurate because I just feel like there's so many like things where I'm like, oh, I'm forgetting about this, or I haven't called my tia in a long time, or I haven't spoken to my cousins in a while, or, you know, my grandma, or like there's always something going on there because we value community and family a lot here. And so in terms of that, it's like managing college, managing being somebody's child, somebody's cousin, somebody's niece, somebody's nephew. Like it's really hard to manage all of those roles and be focused on your education, especially when you feel like there's so much riding on it because of your parents' continuous like just efforts that they've given you and stuff and the sacrifice.
Well, we are here for your experience. So what is your experience, positive or negative, with credit?
Credit, positive experience. I have one credit card to which I'm an authorized user on my oldest sibling, my oldest sister's credit card. And I know that when you have a credit card, you have to have the exact money to pay it off, and you should pay it off almost instantly, definitely before your next billing cycle to not accrue interest. I know the basics about credit enough for me to feel comfortable to exercise having a credit card, at least being an authorized user on hers. And she's taught me all I need to know, like about like if there's any annual fees, interest, how you shouldn't let it just like, you know, keep amounting every month. You're supposed to pay off your bill in full, and it would help raise your credit score, and how to stimulate your credit score. So yeah, that's basically the oldest line of credit I've had. I think I've had it for 2 years now. I think my credit limit's like 1,600, so it's okay for a college student. And my credit score, I think, is like at a 736 right now. Yeah. So yeah, I was definitely happy about that because lots of people are shocked when they hear that coming from somebody my age. It's like, oh wow, that's a really high credit score. I'm like, yeah, I just want to keep consistency with the credit score, and I just know that the more like you're supposed to use only like 30% max of your credit limit. So yeah, I definitely use that for like lots of college expenses. It's really helpful for like, because I know that my credit card specifically gets 1.5% cash back on all my purchases, which is a nice perk at the end of the month when you see like how much you've, you know, accrued. I know that you do pay it off in taxes at the end of the year is taxable, but I'm okay with that. You know, it's nice to be able to go to concerts and put the concert tickets on there and stuff, and having the purchase protection of a credit card is also nice. I think they're FDIC insured and stuff, so that's really nice to have that like blanket, especially if like I were to buy something and it won't work out, my credit union would, like my credit card company would 100% pay it back to me, which is nice.
Right.
So yeah.
So you said you're an authorized user on a sibling's credit card, right? How did that happen? Like, did you go to the sibling and say, hey, could I be an authorized user? Or did they offer?
So I know that it was like we kind of meet in the middle because she had to explain to me the rules and stuff about it before I was really scared about it, to be honest, which I think helped my experience, is me being overly cautious to begin with and knowing that the rules were the rules and that this is something that affects my life, not just like some arbitrary set of rules that somebody made up for you. It's like, oh, this is tied to your social security number. You need to follow these rules. So it was basically me saying like, hey, I know that like my parents and stuff, since they live paycheck to paycheck, they ruin their credit, if I'm being honest, and I don't want to be that. I want to be better for myself. So I was wondering if like there's any way that I can help my credit score. Do you know of any workshops I can go to? Like, because she's just such a resourceful person. She's also like 33, so she kind of knows more about the life. She's lived a little bit more than the life that I have.
Right.
So it was really nice to be able to like talk to her about, if I have any questions, I still to this day can be like, hey, this about the credit card, and she's like, oh yeah, I got you, or she'll send me something. So basically she was saying that it was a good opportunity for me to build my credit and stimulate it. And, obviously I think I used to be an authorized user on my mom's, but since she didn't have good credit, it was like, it left my credit in like, okay, like 500 range standing. And at some point I was like, you know what, Mom, I don't think this is like, because obviously if you don't have good credit, I don't really want to like, go on your credit card and stuff and make it worse for you if possible. And I don't think at 16 you really know the rules of like credit.
Right.
So I told her to close that one out, which did negatively impact my score a little bit because obviously you're closing your only line of credit and
Right.
your oldest line of credit. And then I got on an authorized user on my sister's. I would only use it for like $5 purchases every month, but it like shot
something.
up my credit score when I started using it consistently, staying below that 30%, paying it off like immediately. It was really good for me. My credit card doesn't have annual fees. It's a really great credit card, and it's a nice like beginner credit card, I guess. I mean, she has one that has like a $10,000 limit, but I don't have that, and I'm okay with that. I don't need $10,000.
You don't need it, right?
I think $1,600 is perfectly fine. And there's been times where I've like when I bought my MacBook for school through like Apple Education, I got really close to the credit limit. I was like, but like I immediately paid it off because but it really stimulated my credit score. I think my credit score went up like 2 points that month, which is a lot actually, because like the fact that your credit score even goes up 1 point a month is really good progression. And so now that's why I'm at like I think a 730 something the last time I checked. And it's nice because my credit card has like a built-in credit score checker where you can check it without it hurting your credit, because there are obviously soft credit checks and hard credit checks, and that one doesn't affect it, and I can check it and I can see it says like, oh, what could stimulate your score to go up, what could make it go down, how much of the percent. It has this like calculator that you could use, which is really nice, honestly. And I think it's helped me like very much so visualize it and connect it to the reality of my life, that this is something that's serious, and that in America, at least, we do credit scores. In countries like Japan, there's no credit scores.
Right.
And so here, like, it's something important and stuff. And if you're going to be part of like society, you do have to acclimate to that. And I think that like the way I'm doing it right now is like a nice, consistent way to retain credit. And I would recommend lots of people, if there's somebody in your life who you trust and they have really good credit and you like know them in a consistent way and they're stable, ask them if you could be an authorized user on their credit card. It doesn't hurt to ask, and the worst thing they could say is no, and maybe one day they'll come around to it when they think you're mature enough. But I don't think anybody's too young to start building credit if you know the proper rules and procedures. And if you're a rule follower, if not, wait some time. It's okay to wait. If you don't have enough self-discipline now, at least be self-aware enough to realize that.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, and I think the key there too is that it's someone you trust and they have a good credit score, because their credit score becomes your credit score. And and just to be aware of what they're doing with their credit too, that if you start to feel like maybe this isn't a good idea, you can be like, I need to not be an authorized user on
it's
your
nice
card
to
anymore.
have that freedom of choice for sure. And I trust her because obviously she's my sister. She's been a stable source in my life for a long time. And as I said, close-knit community. So it's really nice and stuff to be able to like learn about credit as well as retain a positive like relationship with it, because some people really do demonize credits and credit card companies, and they're like, I don't want to have credit, I'll pay everything cash. I'm like, that's not how that works when you get a mortgage or when you get a car payment, unfortunately. And since we do live here in the States, we do have to acclimate to some systems that we don't necessarily agree with. So that's kind of my standing on it, where I'm like, it's not like I'm jumping woo credit, like, but it is just one of those things that you have to do as an adult.
Yeah.
Would you share with us what were some of the rules that your sister explained to you?
The 30% rule, don't you dare. Paying it off immediately, and that you have to have like I opened a savings account, and in my bank app it's right below my credit card, and it's called like my credit card name's bank account. And so whenever I buy something, let's say I buy like a $10 snack at the store, I'll put $10 into that savings account, and then whenever it posts, I'll pay it from that $10. So I can visualize exactly where that money is and exactly where it's going to come out. And I don't think, oh my God, I have so much money, it's free money, it's a credit card. Absolutely not. And she was like, yeah, you have to do that. And then the 30% rule, and then absolutely like pay it off before the next billing cycle. You will accrue interest. It's horrible. And then, the reward, since I'm the only one using that credit line because she uses her other one with better like mileage points or something, she says I could use the rewards, which is a perk of me paying it off. And so she basically gave me like a risk and a reward thing. So if I pay it off, I get these rewards on the credit card, which is like extra money. And then if I don't, she will end up revoking it. She's like, I love you so much, but if you ruin my credit, that's it. Right. And so she has the banking app on her app, obviously, and she could see whatever I purchase at any time. And that is one of the things, is that if I want to be sneaky, I like I shouldn't, because it's a credit card. She can see it, and it helps. Like, as somebody who was a teenager, it helped with me being responsible and her holding me accountable. She's like, you made this really big purchase, like what's going on there? But as time has gone on, you know, she has definitely lessened the amount of like, oh, why'd you buy this and stuff. And she understands now that bigger like purchases are normal, because I pay them off automatically. And it's been a couple of years, I think. So it's definitely been a relationship that I built on trust. And at first she would be like, why did you buy this? You know, are you going to pay it off and stuff? And she would really just like observe from afar without trying to get like too involved with it. And she was just basically kind of testing me to see, which I was okay with because I knew I was being tested, to see like, you know, if I was going to hold true to my word, because at a young age, it's easy to lie and get away with things and stuff. And it's easy to not try to be like, oh, I want to be responsible all the time. But I think I'm just a responsible person in nature, to be honest, like a rule follower. I'm like, oh my God, nothing can go wrong if I follow the rules. So like, that's kind of like, she also told me, like, if you're going to be putting something big on it, talk to me. She's like, it takes 10 seconds to send a text message to me. And when I went to the Apple education website, I bought like it was getting really close to the credit limit. And it was like, I think I had a 1,500 credit limit before, and it got so close to scraping it. And she was like, okay, she's like, just pay it off immediately, like after it posts. And then I did that, and it was perfectly fine, and it stimulated my credit score. But I definitely was really nervous making that Apple purchase. I was like, oh, but I needed it. It was for school. It was like, that's a MacBook I use every day for school. And she really did like support me through that, where she's like, yeah, it's scary. I know you're getting close to the credit limit. I know you have some fears and some doubts about using this credit card, but this credit card is only here to help you if you follow the rules. Yeah. So that was nice knowing that there wasn't like out to get me, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you, as soon as it posts, you pay it, right? Because you know then I'm not going to incur interest on that and everything. And just for peace of mind also, is that if for some reason it ever happened that you either missed it when it posted or you couldn't pay it in that moment when it posted, that at the end when the monthly bill comes due, if you pay it then, you're totally fine too. You will not get accrue that interest on it.
Yep.
It's not until it's carried over.
Yep.
So
I have my monthly billing cycle ever since I got the credit card in my phone, and it'll just like send me a reminder a week before. Yeah. And I also have the banking app on my phone where it has an iPhone widget, so I can constantly check out my balance looks like. So there are multiple levels of like tiers of protection that I have for myself, just because I know that as somebody who wears multiple hats, Metro president, I'm somebody's child, I'm somebody's sibling, I carry so many hats, and it's really hard to expect myself to be perfect and remember everything. So calendar reminders, having apps on my phone, having visual reminders constantly, and having somebody who would check up on me if anything went south and was like, hey, you're getting really close to your credit limit, what's going on? Right. It's helpful to have those multiple systems, you know, and it's really nice to have that relationship of trust with somebody. Obviously, if you don't have that person, if you don't have a sibling like I did, then I guess you can open up a beginner credit card and start from scratch yourself. Some people do have to do that. Some people are only children, and that's just something you have to do. And I don't doubt that if I were to do it by myself like that, I would have like the same experience, because I had a lot of knowledge from like YouTube. I would watch things about financial literacy, about like, you know, the rules of a credit card, what you should know, the tips and tricks like that, and like some things that are common misconceptions. And I would Google stuff. So I was definitely one of those people who was definitely trying to be insightful on my own accord. And she just came to like help me and just like boost me up a little bit. And if you don't have that boost, I mean, you could do the same thing I did and just open a beginner credit card, which I would have gotten approved for, like had like with my credit score. And I think I would have had like just a $500 limit, which is fine. Yeah. But there's always a way to begin. And I know one of my other siblings who's choosing not to be an authorized user on my other sibling's card, which is perfectly fine. She's choosing to open up her new beginner credit card, and she's going to go with the same one I have, because I told her, you know, if you have any questions, I have the answers because I know about this credit card. She's like, I was like, but if you have anything else, I would recommend asking somebody else or a credit advisor. And I was like, because I know about the basics about credit. I know about this credit card. And she opened up hers, and she says that it's been going well so far. So I'm happy that she can build that for herself, you know, because independence is what credit feels like to me. Because, you know, the fact that I can put a large purchase on my credit card and stuff, and then if I get paid in a couple days, I can put it all on there and I know exactly, versus if you have a debit card, you don't afford yourself that privilege, unfortunately. So yeah, it's really helpful for families who live paycheck to paycheck, I think, because it really does help them cover that purchase, even if it's backdated a little bit. Because I know that I've been in situations where like a lot of things were due at the same time, like a gym annual fee and the monthly fee was due, my classes were due, my groceries were due, my car needed maintenance. It all happened at the same time. It hit me. I got super close to my credit limit. I was really scared. But then when my paycheck hit, it was like obviously a big paycheck because I worked extra hours. I paid it off. I didn't accrue any interest. I even got some points from it. It was perfectly fine. But that's the reality of living like as a college student, is sometimes you have to make those really close decisions right there. So yeah, it was definitely scary though.
Right. And you were using the credit card to purchase these things or pay for all of these things, knowing you had the money.
Absolutely.
It was gonna be there. That you could pay it off.
I have like a stable job 9 to 5 where I work in like a cubicle, so it is definitely stability there. And I think that for me, having a stable source of income as well as like just keeping myself accountable helps with that credit card repayment thing, because otherwise if you have like not a stable source of income, it's not that easy to do what I'm doing, and I understand that. So yeah, it's definitely a privilege to have a stable job. So.
I also like that your sister said, if you're gonna make a big purchase, like talk to me first, send me that 10-second text. That's building that expectation. So for your future, should you have a partner, a spouse, then you will have that expectation with that person that, hey, we're gonna be talking about our money. Like, this is a conversation that we're going to have on a regular basis.
I think that like that level of accountability was really healthy for me growing up, to see that I can actively communicate with somebody in not a negative context. So lots of times when I would communicate with people, it would be like, oh, we have to talk about like something about a issue or a conflict or negative feelings. But it's nice that there's a positive dialogue opened up between me and my family member, because it not increased the time that I would talk to her, that I would see her, that I would FaceTime her. Sometimes we have FaceTime calls that were an hour long talking about credit. Every single question I had, she would answer it 3 times over until I felt good about it, until I was an expert about it. And I know that if one day I do choose to get married, I think that the conversation will be very open between me and my spouse in terms of like the accountability and communicating, because you know at this point we shouldn't be hiding those things, especially if it's like a dual thing about money. Money is one of the things that my parents would never talk about. Absolutely not. There was always troubles with it, but they would never talk about it, and they would never make a game plan or even stick to it. And so I really don't want to end up like my parents in that regard. I love them to death, but I don't want that for myself.
I feel that's well, I can identify a lot of like Latinx community that it's like let's apparent like we are fine.
Yeah,
we're gonna feel like we're fine, and if we don't talk about it, no one is gonna know that we are not fine. So let's just try to don't talk about it and never mention it, and that doesn't really work in any way. But coming back to what you were saying of talking with your spouse about your big purchase, I don't think it's just good because that person gets to know how the money gets spent. Also because that person could stop you if it's an impulsive spending or if it's just emotional spending. Like, I think it's so useful just to talk about it, decide if it's good for you or not good for you, and someone that loves you and is looking for your wealth will like help you and advise you correctly to, oh yeah, that's a good way to spend your money. You will actually use it, or no, you are never gonna use it. You always say that you're gonna use it, but you're never gonna use it. We all know that. Give you the reality check, and that's never gonna happen. Don't buy it. I think that's very useful too.
It boils down to respect for me, where I'm like, I respect you enough to let you know about this, because obviously we are all independent people, and I'm choosing to tell you about this and communicate because I respect you enough to respect your opinion in this situation. At the end of the day, I can do whatever I wanted if I wanted to. But I'm choosing to come to you and think that your input is valuable. And I want to share this with you, and I want to share this part of my life with you, because, you know, even though it's been stigmatized for me growing up, I really don't want it to be in the future. And so it's nice to be having that person who can keep you accountable if it's emotional spending, if you're overspending, or just dopamine chasing.
Yeah.
So lots of dopamine purchases sometimes.
Something that I think has been really helpful is that, like, we've discussed finances, even though our finances are not tied together in any way. Like, we've discussed them before. We've been like, this is how much I make. This is my spending goals. This is saving goals. Like, this is what I want. And it's been super helpful for us, I feel like, because we haven't had to worry. We're like, when is the right time to bring up, like, finance? We haven't had to feel like it's, like, looming over us, just because we've been open about it since basically the beginning. And I feel like we've helped each other out a lot in different ways, because we've had different like strengths and weaknesses in like our financial literacy. And so we've worked together to kind of fill in the gaps for each other. And I feel like that's been super helpful.
Yeah, as two people who make very different incomes, it's like really hard to be able to see what different people spend their money on, because like you have different things that I budget for, and I have different things that you don't budget for. And it's nice to be able to like make a budget together and see how well we're sticking to it, and really analyze like, hey, you know, you said you weren't going to buy this, but you did. And so maybe next time in the next month's budget, you budget this into that so we know where the money's going instead of just feeling guilty after, which is like a really hard thing for me where I'm like, wow, I really didn't expect to spend this much money. I feel guilty about this. It's like the only thing you can do is assess like what your strengths and weaknesses are and then plan appropriately for next month, which I know he's really helped me with because he was the one who like helped me make a budget originally. And originally I was just kind of like eyeballing it and like in my head math, but he helped me actually write it down and put it into like a spreadsheet. And I was like, oh.
It's different too when you're staring at the numbers.
Yeah, I know that for sure. I was just like, wow, I really spent a lot on eating out. Wow, it's just like on the go, especially like this past year being Metro president, so on the go, so busy all the time, so much more than like being the social media manager. And it's just like constantly on the go. And I was just like, wow, I need something. I haven't ate all day. My head hurts. Wow, I need to buy something to eat. And so it's kind of like, oh, would you want your head hurt? You want obviously proper planning. I'm tired. I work. I go to school. I take care of my little brother. I have my dog. Like there are so many different costs that come up, and honestly, time is money. And sometimes I'm like, maybe I should say an extra hour at work because I really do like eating out. I like the convenience of it and stuff. So yeah, in terms of that, like there's lots of upfront costs that you don't realize when you like eat out and stuff, and how hard cooking is and grocery shopping is.
Yes.
What's your experience with budget? Negative or you're looking at each other like, we should do it more often, but we never do it.
I'm looking at Jay like, because this is like his favorite topic. Like he just itches to talk about the budget all the time. So I will let Jay answer this one.
Go for it.
I feel like I've had a really good experience with budgeting because that was something that my parents really stressed, especially once I started getting like stable income because now I have a job. They were like, you need to budget for everything. You need to pay attention to what you're spending, why you're spending it, plan for bigger purchases, which has been incredibly helpful for me because I'm also a photographer. I've bought pretty expensive camera equipment and I wouldn't have been able to save up the amount of money that I needed for it if I wasn't aware how much money I was having and what I could spend. And so it was super helpful. I was able to save up for camera equipment way sooner than I thought I would be, just because I was aware of how much I was spending. And also I was able to help Kari out because in the beginning, like you said, you had like a mental budget, but not really a like on paper, this is how much I can spend on this thing. And so it was nice being able to like feel like I was helping someone else out and be like, oh, like this is how you do this. Like how much money do you want to kind of set aside towards this? What do you want to do? And I feel like it's been really helpful, which we do need to revisit that.
Budget. As somebody whose parents didn't have a budget and go over budget, it's definitely the opposite experience for me. I was just kind of like, this is just like so stressful and so taxing. Like it carries a heavy mental load there for me, and I just didn't think it was worth it at the beginning. But as I started to struggle with like more bills coming in as you get older, my dog having health issues that required expensive veterinary bills, it was really hard for me to be able to balance everything and remember all the small things you purchase. Because for me, it's really easy to like Apple Pay or my credit card, and it's just like ding, ding, ding. And then you, at some point, you're like, wow, these are so many purchases. I have to keep track of them. Oh my God. And I have random notes open on my iPhone at all times. Like just random sums. And I'm like, what? Where are these from? Like, this is from 3 a.m. What is this? So it was definitely difficult to keep track of it. I was like, what did I buy at 3? Like, what is going on? And it's just like, oh, it's like Apple taking out the monthly subscription service. I'm like, oh, it's just such random, like $5 or 20. I'm like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's nice to be able to know. And I also didn't realize how much I was spending on monthly subscriptions until I added it up and stuff, and I ended up canceling some of them because like, hello, I don't need these. If I don't even remember you, absolutely not. So the only thing I pay for now is like my gym because I think health is wealth and that you should invest in yourself in that way, just my opinion. And like Spotify because wow, when I'm studying I can't, if I listen to it I'm gonna spaz out. Like I'm like really focused on like what I'm doing and stuff, and there's like an ad, I'm like and then like obviously Apple storage because I'm not about to delete all my photos. Like I don't have the time for this right now. Like, and so basically those are like some of the main ones. And then Amazon Prime because of like if I'm busy and stuff, Amazon Prime stuff to my house, and it's way more affordable than going to the grocery store because of how stressful it is and how tired I am after. Because I work 9 to 8 sometimes, most days, so it's really hard to have the energy, and also it's like not safe to drive when you're that tired. So it's just like I think I get home from my job and then I just go to sleep and then I wake up and the next morning I have to go to work 9 to 8 again, and it's really hard to be able to actually do stuff and have a life after that. I don't know. I think that like I really did consolidate how I was like spending monthly subscriptions and stuff because it's really easy to forget about some, and hey, they don't tell you. They will keep taking out. That's what they want. They like make so much money of you forgetting. If we're being honest, it's one of their business practices, which is fine for somebody else who has more disposable income, but not for me.
Right.
So yeah, because like something $5 each month is like $60 a year, and like oh, $60 a year, I could buy something new with $60 a year. Absolutely not. Like no, I can get my oil changed twice over. No, thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Exactly. If you compare it to how much you make per hour at your job, let's say you make $15 an hour, right? That's $60 a year. It's like that was 4 hours of my life. I'm never gonna get back.
I sometimes think about them like, how much will these concert tickets that cost $60 really amount to X hours of my life that I have to sit in this cubicle listening to people over the phone? Will it give me as much happiness? Will it? And sometimes it does, because it's a once in a lifetime experience. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it wasn't even worth it. And you're just like, you learn to realize how to just like basically rank stuff on like, will this give me as much joy and dopamine as I think it will? Or am I just chasing something to push down emotions?
Yeah.
So I'm self-aware enough to know when I'm doing stuff when I'm like, wow, this is just for a dopamine kick. I think that I need to confront how I actually feel instead of pushing it down and buying stuff. So there's been lots of things where I never thought I'd be able to go to a concert because of like anxiety and just like finances. But now that I like actively go to concerts and stuff, it's really nice to have those financial goals where you save up for the ticket, you save up for buying merch possibly, and then you have like a good time. You really go and experience it. It makes you feel like you're alive and not just living every day to day.
Yeah.
And it makes like the cubicle work feel worth it.
Real quick with the budget, you created a spreadsheet and that's what you use, or do you use any kind of apps or?
So I have it set up just in Google Docs right now.
Nice. Okay.
Because I'm like, it's super easy to access from like the phone, computer, anywhere. We have one that's shared between us with both of our budgets on it, which I think is also helpful with the whole transparency thing. We can see like every single thing that both of us have budgeted, and it's just super easy to access, easy to change, like shift things around. And it's really nice because kind of like what you were saying, you kind of weigh your options like in what purchases you want to make. And it's nice because like I really enjoy eating out and stuff like that, but because I don't make very much money, it's nice to be aware. I'm like, my eating out budget, I can go like once a week. If I want to go more than that, I'm going into my spending money. And would I really rather go out to eat than buy something? And a lot of the time that I don't, and so I end up just going home and eating something there, which is really nice to have that perspective on it.
Do you budget by percentage or by the amount of money?
I typically budget just by numbers. I'm like, this costs exactly this much every month, so I'm gonna budget that much. Or like, I usually spend around this amount of money. I'll like budget a little bit higher than that on this just in case I go over. So I usually just try and use like direct numbers because that's what like makes the most sense to me.
Did you ever hear about the 50-30-20 rule?
I haven't.
The 50-30-20 rule is just like a recommendation from experts that 50% of your budget should go to your needs, 20% to your savings, and 30% to your wants. Yeah. So it's not like, doesn't apply like to always to every case. I feel like the situation of college students oftentimes is you live with your parents, so you don't need to worry about paying rent or that much of rent. So you don't really spend the 50% of your paycheck in your needs, but that could go directly to your savings because you know that you will have those expenses in the future. But it's just like a good way to like measure yourself if you're overspending or if you should maybe put a little bit more in your savings, just so you know.
That's something that my parents always really stressed to me was put most of my paycheck into savings because I don't have expenses. I don't have to pay rent. I don't have to buy groceries. Like I have to do upkeep for my car, and that's really my only major expense, which I'm very lucky that that's my situation. But my dad made sure, he was like, the extra money that you're not spending on these things is not money for you to spend. It's money for you to save. Put it into a savings account.
Well, that's the next point. What is your savings experience or / investment?
For me, I think the same exact money saved up in I have an emergency fund and a savings fund. And it's basically good for me to visualize things and to set goals for myself in that way. I don't invest my money. I don't think I'm in the financial place right now or in the mental place to want to invest because I think that I think like the stock market in general is just really up and down. I'm not one of those up and down people. I'm one of those, I like stability people. So right now, I feel like when I may be older and have a job that's related to my career, I'd probably invest some money. I'd probably get like a financial advisor or an accountant, somebody who has more knowledge about the field than I do, to then put into it. I know that when I get a stable job, I will also open up I'll have like a 401k through them. Right now, since I'm technically part-time at my job, they don't offer it for me, but they use another job that I had used to. But basically, I have a savings fund, an emergency fund where I contribute every single month to them as much as I can. So like if I have any money left over from like my groceries that I have amounted, all my subscriptions, all of the other things I need to pay, if I have any money left over, like the most possible will go into there. And so within like 3 months, I was able to save up like $1,200, which is a lot. of disposable income that I would have just spent on stupid crap that doesn't really make me happy. So it's nice because I know I didn't have them before. I was just like, if I have this money left over, then I could just spend on something. I can go on Amazon, I can go buy something, I can go shop. If somebody really likes clothes, I was all for it. But Jay was like, hey, if something ever happens, you kind of have to have some like cushion. And then when my dog went through like those severe health issues and I had to pay like $1,000 something, I was just like, oh, this sucks. But I had so much money saved up from it, and I saved up like my entire tax return and I put it into an account, and that's what paid off her like amputation that she got. So it was nice to be able to have that and stuff, because she had cancer. And she had to get an amputation when I just thought she was going to get a mass removal. So I originally budgeted for a mass removal, which was only about $800 something to $1,000. Instead, she ended up getting a full amputation, which costed like $1,600.
Oh, wow.
So I definitely had a lot of money saved up. I did have to dip into my emergency fund because I think that's an emergency.
Yeah.
I think that constitutes an emergency. So my entire tax refund plus some of the emergency fund went back there. But I mean, at this point, I do have it back up to normal, so I'm very proud about that. But if I wouldn't have met Jay at the time I met him, and started having that open dialogue that was incredibly uncomfortable about money, then I don't think I would have been able to save up for her surgery. And I don't think she would be alive today, because this happened like a month and a half ago. So this is very recent.
Very recent.
Very recent. So if I wouldn't have met him and he wouldn't have pushed the budget and his teachings that his parents taught him, even though we live very different lives in that regard, it was nice that he was able to teach me something.
So with the investing part, just some unsolicited suggestion.
Yeah.
A real easy thing for part-time work, full-time work, doesn't matter, is opening a Roth IRA. You can do it on your own. And the nice thing is all contributions that you make, you can pull out anytime without penalty. Some people use it as a backup emergency fund.
Yeah.
Especially the younger you are, the more it'll be worth.
And I heard like the misconception of the stock market. You were talking about the ups and downs, and I feel like I don't know why I had the exactly same thought that when someone asks you, oh, are you investing? It means that you are like gambling almost on, is it gonna go up? Is it gonna go down? It's more like the big picture than the little picture when we talk about investments, and it's easier than we think it is. But yeah, it's just getting more information that we usually don't ask and we don't get from school.
I see, Jay, you're nodding your head a lot.
So it's kind of funny actually, because just recently within the past couple of weeks, my dad brought it up to me. He was like, hey, you should start a Roth IRA account now because you're 18. Like, this is something that you should be doing. And he told me the whole, like, if you invest like $1,000 now and add to it every paycheck, by the time I'm like 63, it'll be $1 million or something. So I'm really fortunate to have like parents that are really financially like well versed. And so that's actually something that I was gonna start looking into soon.
Knowing what you know now about finance and being a college student, what advice will you give to your younger self?
I would give the advice of talk to my sister sooner about that authorized user on my credit card. And then I would also give myself the advice of like opening up a savings account, like a Roth IRA, sooner. Because I know that that's like my next goal, because I've been trying for like a year and a half to open one, and it's been so hard. So, but basically I would tell them to like exercise their credit more and to start learning more instead of just feeling like scared of it, which is fine because it like protected me, but there shouldn't be as much fear there and stigma. And then I can just like start researching as soon as possible. Use your phone. You're always on TikTok, you're always on Instagram. Go look something up. Go look something up from somebody who you trust. Make yourself aware and more knowledgeable, because knowledge is power. And like I would just recommend myself to do that, and just not to dopamine spend and emotional spend, because that is something dead guilty about. Also, make a list. Make any type of list. A finance list, a budget, a grocery list. Oh, it helps so much to make a list. And I have like cut down on so many different things because of lists and notating physically or digitally, instead of just remembering it all in my head and really seeing where my finances are going towards,
I would probably really suggest myself to look into a Roth IRA sooner, and also start building credit. I definitely, because that's one of my plans over the summer, is to start building my credit, but still it would have been better to do that like when I first got my job and started having income.
Thank you, Kari and Jay, for talking and taking this time. I know you both have like very busy schedules, but it's very valuable for College Cash Corner. We could also like to thank you, the New Media Lab, who helps us to make this podcast possible. Students, the Media Lab experience can help you with your media project too. So if you have any idea to make any podcast, you could use this resource too.
Before we go, we'd like to remind students that college is your gateway to a brighter financial future. At MCC, we're here to help you master your money. Visit the financial literacy section on the financial aid website to book a one-on-one appointment, access your free cash course account, and stay updated on workshops and events. Stay informed, stay savvy, and keep climbing.